Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. Before we start off, I'd like to ask that today we'll be discussing the Spain defeating France in the gold medal game. We'll discuss Chelsea signing Pedro Neto. We'll discuss Barcelona signing Dani Olmo and the Community Shield, preview that matchup. And make sure you stick around for the show where I'll be giving you my top headlines, my reactions to the top headlines going on in the soccer world. Before we start off, though, a little bit different today. There's still the GSMC Podcast.net. Don't worry about that. You could still leave, a comment there and all that, and we'll address it. But there's something new coming. If you've got a question during the show, we want to hear it. Your input is a big part of what makes this show great, and we thrive on your energy and insight. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. Now, if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $ at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your message gets on the air, and also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead, let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button, and let's keep this show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can also go to GSMC Podcast.net to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do that without your amazing support, and we're thankful to have you as part of our community. We have to start off with Spain. They have defeated France to win the Olympic gold medal game. In the men's Olympic gold medal soccer showdown, this game was played on the Parc des Princes in front of a sold-out stadium filled with all the French fans rooting on their team, rooting on the home team to complete it done. But it was Spain that ended up stealing this victory in extra time with 2 goals from Camello, 2 absolutely brilliant finishes that came late in that game, and it's a heartbreaking way for France to lose the Olympic gold medal opportunity here. Obviously, the sights were gold when you bring the talented team that France and Thierry Henry was able to bring. You'll see the likes of Michael Olise, Jean-Philippe Mateta, Lacazette, players with real ability. Miliot was able to get a goal. Luc Bade, solid center half. But even players like Ryan Cherki onto the bench. But you just see the Spanish team in this magical summer for Spain continues winning the European Championships a few weeks ago, now winning the gold medal at these games. This is 32 years in the waiting for Spain. The last time that they won the gold medal was, I believe, at the Barcelona Olympics. So where they did that at home. Now they were able to go on, take this opportunity away from France from winning it at home. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Camello, who scored that goal after he came on in the 83rd minute, said, "We are the happiest children in the world." It was a game that it was a high quality game, I'll say. Real quality. Yes, this was a lot of players that were U23. Most of them were U23. But we saw a lot of quality on that pitch. A lot of players with technical ability, with athleticism, with the forward thinking of mentality, with the bravery and courage of playing football the way it's supposed to be played. We saw 2 teams willing to be open and play end-to-end football and create opportunities and leave space, not being afraid to push numbers forward and leave space open and counterattack. Both teams played with some courage and some desire. But Spain, they were just a little bit more clinical, a little bit more quality, France, they were able to get that early goal, lucky break, goalkeeping mistake from the Spanish goalkeeper. His name is escaping my head. But poor mistake by him. But he did come around to Arnau Tenas. Yeah, now I got it. Arnau Tenas, who was actually was part of the Barcelona youth setup, now is at PSG. Arnau Tenas, but he actually ended up making an unbelievable save at the end of the first half to keep it 3-1, which really could have changed the trajectory of the game if France was able to get that goal. It was really good. He was able to make the save. The ball was already behind him. He had to reach his hand back. Tim Howard was on commentary. He kind of broke it down excellent for us on how impressive it was save, and it was very, very impressive. But yes, he made that poor mistake on that first goal. But Spain, they were able to move the ball and find themselves in dangerous position. And Fermin Lopez, boy, he's shown this Olympic Games that this dude is a star. He is a star in the making. He's always in the right areas at the right time, great finishing, good technical ability, has the courage and desire of showing up in these big moments, going down 1 goal early in this sort of atmosphere at the Parc des Princes, going up against France, going down early in that atmosphere, and the way he responds for his team and getting those 2 goals. And he's been essential for this team because he's had, I believe, 6 goals at these Olympic Games, which, 6 goals in 6 games is very impressive normally and easily should get you the Golden Boot. But Brahimi had an absolutely brilliant tournament as well. But the difference is, Fermin Lopez, he did all these goals from open play. Rahimi for Morocco, a lot of his goals came from penalties, and he's also a 28-year-old playing in a youth tournament. This is a actual proper U23 player in 21. So in my opinion, Fermin Lopez has been the real star of this tournament, real standout. He's playing at Barcelona now, or he's been at Barcelona throughout the setup, but he hasn't really got to, he got 31 appearances this season. He had 8 goals. He can take that next level. He's a brilliant player, Fermin Lopez, and has the intangibles, has that clutch sort of gene. And then they had that absolutely free kick at the end of the half to make it 3-1. And France, they were able to dig in. They were able to create a few opportunities here and there. Nothing clear, but they were able to get that breakthrough on the set piece. And then they needed a break. They needed a break to get them into extra time. They got it on the back post. The Spanish defender makes a bad play trying to defend the corner kick, has his hands wrapped around, and that essentially gives France an opportunity to get extra time. And Jean-Philippe Mateta, he's done what he's done all this tournament, show up for his country. Absolute clutch penalty to push it into extra time. And in extra time, they were broken down by Spain. Lovely passing, lovely combination play that we saw in the first goal from Fermin Lopez. Something similar to that, the lovely combination you see of Spanish players. They get the ball. They get the ball to Cameo with an absolutely delicate finish over the French goalkeeper. In that sort of situation, in that moment, on the stage, the class of that finish, I was so surprised by the courage and the mental strengths and how this moment wasn't too big for a lot of these young guys. Being able to finish in that moment, absolute brilliant. And also, another thing, at the end, Arnau Tenas, he gets the ball. I believe he catches a cross or something. He could easily go down and just waste the time. The courage, the awareness to quickly look up and to throw one heck of a ball. I'm talking, he launches it with on a throw. He launches it basically past the halfway line, and Cameo was able to get on the end of it, use his pace to get past the defender, and another amazing, delicate finish to completely seal the deal. Again, that's That's composure at the finest level, and it was an absolutely brilliant finish, and it was an absolutely brilliant moment. You see all the Spanish players, the substitutes, the coaches going on the field to get him across the field. You don't see that often, and it was a beautiful scene. You saw the passion, you saw the Spanish passion, you saw Luis de la Fuente coming out after a game. Enjoy this. This is the start of something, and it really is. This is the start of something, because Spain just won a European Championship, and now they have these sort of core, really talented players. You know, it's a start of another golden generation for Spain, I'm afraid. This is an absolutely brilliant team, and this is a team that should make a lot of national teams be a little bit frightened, because I don't see them slowing down, and I definitely see them entering that next World Cup as potential favorites. With the way that they did it, it's been nothing short of sensational. It's been nothing short of sensational. They've had to dig deep. They lost a game earlier in this tournament against Egypt in the group stages, a game that they really rested in, but still, they bounced back. They bounced back beautifully. They had to fight back against Morocco to get past them, and then in this one. But let's be real. If we have to analyze it, France played some really good football. But to be honest, they weren't just at Spain's level. Spain was just better than them. They controlled the ball better than them, and they just played a little bit better than them, and they created more clear-cut chances more than them. Because let's be for real, France, they were able to get this extra time, 3-3. The first goal came off a poor goalkeeper mistake. Essentially, it was a poor mistake. It should never have gone in. It's a lucky break, and the third goal was also a lucky break. It was kind of it was a place that you shouldn't concede a penalty in that sort of positioning, defending a set piece. Just keep yourself, kid. Just keep yourself in between the ball and the goal. Make some sort of effort on the ball, trying to go for a head. The cross wasn't gonna get to him. The cross was too high. It was kind of another lucky break. 2 of the 3 goals were essentially lucky breaks for for France, that really got them the opportunity to even be in the extra time. Let's be for real. If we have to be honest, Spain was just the better team. France were lucky to get this into extra time. Although France did show some quality in this game, some real players that stood out for them. There's no questions about that. And France also has a future with the players that they have. But it's disappointing, France, they wanted to win their first Olympic gold since the 84 Olympics in Los Angeles. And Thierry Henry, he wanted this to, bring this gold medal back to his country, something he didn't have an opportunity to do as a player because he never played. You saw, the players and all the fans appreciated, or not the players, but all the fans appreciating Thierry Henry, as they did their lap of honor, Thierry Henry. And look, I've been critical about Thierry Henry in terms of as a manager being a prospect for USMNT, because I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's a good enough tactician. I don't think he's a good enough coach. I do think he's probably a great motivator, and he has a good personality, and he's probably a good man manager and all that. And I think he did decent to get them to the gold medal game. I think they should have won it, to be honest, with the quality that they have. But I think he did a decent job getting them. But he should be anywhere near the USMNT national team position, or any national team that has any sort of World Cup sort of aspirations to go past the group stages. Because let's just call it as it is. He's not a coach at that level. He's failed at multiple club spots. He didn't fail at this Olympic Games, but it was definitely not a success, because when you see the quality of players that they have, and the fact that they were playing this tournament at home, nothing short of a gold medal was going to be success, Despite how even the final played out, the way that they lost it at the end, nothing was going to be a success unless he won it. So you can't even say this has been a success either. So, I look forward to see what's the next step in his manager career, and I think the biggest takeaway from this Olympic Games is the future is bright for this Spanish national team. The future is extremely, extremely bright. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll discuss Chelsea signing Pedro Neto and whether or not it is a strange transfer for Chelsea.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we talked about Spain defeating France to win the gold medal game in men's Olympic soccer. We move on to talk about Chelsea. They have signed Pedro Neto for around 60 million or so, roughly give or take. Interesting transfer there. A lot to sort of break down in the fact that, again, I've been very critical in terms of how Chelsea have approached everything, since this new ownership came in, all the transfers, all that. It's been something I've been very, 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 very critical about. And look, not saying Pedro Neto is not a talented player. He has some quality, he has some ability. But this is Chelsea Football Club that's spent a ridiculous amount of money over the past few years. So, you have to wonder, what is the plan to fight off, financial breaches? Like the amount of money you spent and you still have not solved the two biggest issues in this team with all the money you have spent, and that is goalkeeper and the number 9, the striker position. You still haven't solved those two issues. That's been major issues at the club for a long time now. But despite not solving those two issues, you go out and you've signed Noni Madueke, Mikhailo Mudryk, Pedro Neto, Raheem Sterling, Cole Palmer. List goes on and on. All wingers. You can only play 2 out of time, like realistically, you can only play 2 at a time. You signed Mikhailo Mudryk, you invested $100 million in him just about a year ago now, or a little bit more than a year ago. You've invested in Raheem Sterling, you invested in Cole Palmer, you invested in Noni Madueke. Why are you investing in another $60 million player in Pedro Neto? And it's a player that has a horrible injury record. And that's the last thing Chelsea need. We've known what Chelsea have suffered when it comes to injuries over the past few years. So what do? You get another player that has a horrible injury record. You can't make this up. I can't put into words how horrible this club is ran. How horrible. There's no sense of direction. There's no sense of we know what we're doing. There's no sense of belief anymore from the fans. It's just what? Pedro Neto? I mean, Pedro Neto, no disrespect to him, I think he's a very, very good player, but the best ability is availability. And this dude has not played a full Premier League year since he's got to the Premier League. Since he's got to the Premier League, he hasn't played 30, he hasn't had 30 appearances, 30 Premier League appearances in one season. That's just makes no sense. On top of that, it's a player at a position we don't need. Right now, what we need is to get the likes of Mudryk and Nano Madueke to see, especially Mudryk, get him playing time to see whether or not he's up for the task, whether he's worth the 100 million. That's what it is. That should be the plan right now. Now you're bringing Pedro Neto, and it's just even more competition for $100 million player that's supposed to be the next big thing for you with the amount of money you've invested. What is this signing of Pedro Neto? Are you just admitting, okay, Mikhailo Mudryk was a disaster, was a failure? Is that what you're doing? If that's the case, then we got even bigger problems than just the signing of Pedro Neto. And again, all these players, look at these big-time investments we've made. Pedro Neto, Cole Palmer, Mikhailo Mudryk, Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo. I'm talking. These are all like $50 million players, and in Caicedo and Enzo, it is and Mikhailo Mudryk, we could talk about $100 million plus, especially with Enzo and Caicedo. And then on top of that, you made all these signings, in terms of the Nicholas Jackson, the Dewsbury Halls, all the goalkeepers that have been brought in, all the center halves that have been brought in, the DCCs, all these, the guy from Atletico Madrid that we're just about to get, Como, whatever his name is. You make all these signings. Where's the money coming from? I know you're prolonging this, but how is this not breaching some sort of financial fair play? How are you getting around this? Are we sure? We are trusting as fans. We are trusting that this ownership group know what they're doing and understand completely the financial rules and are 100% sure. We're trusting them that they're not breaching anything. But we don't know that exactly. We can hear all this, but we won't know that right now. And the Premier League, it'll take them a little, or the Champions League or whatever, it'll take them a little time to come down, if we're breaching it. But what as Chelsea fans, why do we have some sort of belief? Why do we have some sort of trust that they're not breaking any sort of rule? Why do we believe that they're getting it done? It makes, it just makes no sense, the ridiculous amount of money we spent, and the fact that we haven't played Champions League football in the last last season. Or has it been 2 seasons now? No, we haven't played Champions League football. So we haven't played Champions League football last season. And we're not going to play this season. How many years have we not played Champions League now? I believe... Yeah, it's been 1 season, but it's going to be 2. 2 seasons of not playing Champions League football. We don't know for sure if we're getting Champions League football this season. We're relying on these players to come good. Players that have shown no signs of coming good, especially Mikhailo Mudryk. I'm very concerned. I think this transfer is another waste transfer. I think I've told you, and I've said this many, many times, there is no signing that can elevate Chelsea more than these two. A world-class goalkeeper, an absolute world-class goalkeeper, or a world-class striker. Those are the 2 positions that can drastically improve this club. We leak too many goals, and a lot of it has to do with our goalkeeper situation, and we're not clinical enough in the attacking half. A lot of it has to do is that we don't have any real number 9. You solve those 2 issues, and I'm not saying it's puppy dog and rainbows, but it pushes you that much closer to the top 4. Think about what, 2 players in Alisson and Van Dijk did for Liverpool. Now imagine a top-class goalkeeper. Instead of spending $60 million on Pedro Neto, who's going to be battling for 3, 4, 5 other wingers for a position, or signing the striker from Atletico Madrid for 25-30 million, Odiobo or whatever his name is, he just won a gold medal. Another guy like Nicholas Jackson, he'll be in and around, and he'll have an opportunity to fight for a starting position at 30 million. or sign a Dewsbury Hall, which we don't know. Maybe Enzo Maresca likes him, but is this a guy that's gonna come in and change things at Chelsea? No. Where is these? You have the money to spend. Why aren't you spending it where the team needs it the most? Again, I don't understand the transfer strategy and how this team is trying to build. It makes absolutely zero sense. 0 cents. So is this a strange transfer for Chelsea? It's more than just strange. It's quite frankly an abomination. And someone is going to pay. Whether it's the Chelsea ownership group or us as fans watching this misery for the next 10 years that we're about to see. But someone's going to get paid. I am afraid we are entering Manchester United territory with the Glazers and the suffering that they have suffered. I think we might be entering the realm of possibility that we're going to suffer that same sort of transfer or same sort of suffering for the next period of our lifetime as Chelsea fans. That's how serious I think this boardroom is not serious. That's how much I think they don't know what they're doing. And it's an absolute disgrace. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll talk about Barcelona signing Dani Olmo.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we talked about Chelsea signing Pedro Neto. We move on to discuss Barcelona signing Dani Olmo. And whether or not this signing allows them to push Real Madrid this season for the La Liga and potentially make this Barcelona team some sort of an outfit entering the Champions League. Because Barcelona last season they had a disappointing loss to PSG in a game in a tie that essentially got completely flipped by a red card. Now this is going to be a different Barcelona playing a different style of play under a new manager in Hansi Flick, who's won a Champions League. So it's going to be different. No doubts about that. It's going to be different, and it's going to be fascinating to watch. At least for me, it's going to be fascinating to watch. I believe what Hansi Flick is doing. I believe in the sort of system that he's going to deploy at Barcelona, the style of play that they're trying to get them to play. I believe in him as a coach and his ability to change this up. But I do have to be a little critical with this Dani Olmo signing in that he's a brilliant player. Real ability, so much quality, can get into the box and score a goal, gives you flexibility. He can play on the left wing and play in midfield. If you play him at a left wing, he's going to be more inverted, cutting onto the right foot, being that sort of possession sort of winger, a winger that can help you retain the ball and that can help you break down a defense. That sort of player. He can pick up really good spaces, pocket of spaces between the center halves and fullbacks. from midfield. He has a clever ability of knowing when to make a run into the box and getting in the right place at the right time to get an opportunity at goal. Again, I said good finishing, good control in tight spaces, really good on the ball, can play well when time and space is compressed. He can be a part of a midfield that has an identity of dominating possession, as he is. You can say that about all Spanish midfielders. You're getting into that Spanish national team squad that won the European Championship. You got to be a dominant midfielder. Whether you're on the bench or you're starting, you have to have class. And Dani Olmo has class. Dani Olmo and Pedri, they were not able to play together at these European Championships. It was either or. It was Dani Olmo. He really got integrated into starting 11 when Pedri went out. In past tournaments, Dani Olmo has been able to play alongside Pedri. Dani Olmo has been playing more in the left wing sort of position, a little bit more closer to the attacking three. And they've made it work in that way. So, can Hansi Flick make that work? Yeah, but you also have Gundogan there. You have Gundogan, you have Pedri, you have Dani Olmo, you have Frenkie de Jong. You're not going to be able to get to play all four of those guys. There's going to be an odd man out. Now, I could see Dani Olmo have some sort of similar role that he has in Spain in terms of being that sort of first man off the bench to make a difference. I could see that. Now, is that something that he wants now, making the first big move he's made to a club? I don't think that's something. Obviously, he would have to accept the role, but I don't think that's something he'd look forward to, and I don't think that's something he came to Barcelona for. He came to Barcelona to fight. Now, could you see Barcelona benching Pedri? No, this is a young player. He needs to continue playing to develop. He has world-class talent. He has world-class ability that needs to be nurtured, that needs to keep playing and keep progressing and keep developing. He's had a little bit of a decline in his career post that year that he played a crazy amount, a lot of injuries, but it's not like Ansu Fati where he's completely fell out. But there's still ability there. He just needs a little bit more time to rediscover himself. And I believe in his talent and his pure talent and ability. There's still something there. He has amazing passing range, Pedri. I think he gives you a little bit more in terms of long range passing. Pedri provides that. In terms of overall midfield abilities, in terms of passing, in terms of technical ability, in terms of getting the ball from one area and another area, and opening up space for your teammates, the way you can control the ball and manipulate it to find the pass that opens up space for your teammates. I think Pedri is better in that aspect than Dani Olmo, but Dani Olmo does give you more of a goal threat, which is something I've been always critical on Pedri, is that he never has that, he can make a run into the box. He never has that sort of mentality. Okay, let me just beat this guy one-on-one and create a little bit of space to get a shot off and create an opportunity for myself. He's always looking to pass, even if he himself is in a dangerous position. He's always looking to move it. When I think if he has that a little bit more aggressive mentality of thinking, once in a while, because he has the ability, he has a good technical ability. He can find himself in a tight space in the box, do a move, create some space for himself and hit it. He has that ability to create space for himself, but he just doesn't have that sort of aggressive nature to him, which I think makes Dani Olmo a little bit threatening if Dani Olmo's on the team in terms of taking his spot. And you could have argued that, he really should have taken, Pedri's spot a little bit earlier in the tournament without that injury. If you look at how Dani Olmo was able to perform at the European Championship, he was absolutely brilliant, real brilliant. But so that's a tricky thing. His relationship, how he's gonna work with Pedri. Another also very tricky thing is Barcelona don't have a number 6, so bringing in a guy like Dani Olmo, essentially pins Frenkie de Jong into that holding midfield role, in which I've said this so many times. Frenkie de Jong, he has the ability to play as a holding midfielder role. In fact, he played center half under Ronald Koeman whenever, Barcelona center backs were going up and down and it was the COVID time. He happened to play center back a little bit. So, he does have the ability to play holding midfield. He has that sort of range, but number one, he doesn't have the defensive intensity, and he doesn't have the defensive prowess to cover up spaces that fullbacks or center halves might leave. He doesn't have that sort of, defensive prowess to him to play that holding midfield role, number one. Number two, he's nowhere near as effective when he's playing in that holding midfield role compared to him playing sort of as that number 8 or even sometimes as a number 10, being closer to the front three, being able to play those intricate balls in behind to really show the quality he has. Really, that's his position, playing that number 8 position, being a little bit more close into the attacking half of the pitch, not relying mostly on his ability to just be a composer, which he could be, but he also has the quality to, run the show in midfield and be the main guy as that number 8. And I don't think you get the best out of him if you play that holding midfield role. And he's an investment too. They spent a lot of money to get him, so you want to get the best out of him in the prime years of his career. A team like Barcelona right now, they should have, Barcelona in the past, I guarantee Barcelona 6-7 years ago, Barcelona would have gone and gotten Rodri, right? They would have went to Manchester City. Yeah, you're Manchester City. Yeah, you won the Premier League. Yeah, you won the treble this last year or 2 years ago now. Don't matter. We're Barcelona. We're gonna go in. We're gonna put down 115 million or 120 million or whatever it takes, and they would have gotten Rodri. That's the sort of what's the word? That's the sort of gravitas that they had in world football. They don't have that anymore. Number one, they have financial issues, so they have financial issues, so they don't even have the means to go and, just drop a ridiculous amount of money to get Pedri to the club. To get Rodri to the club, number one. Number two, they're not as attractive as a destination as they were those years in the past, Quite frankly, right now, they're not, they get the odd signing here and there of a Lewandowski, a little bit older, end of the hill, a Gundogan reaching the later ages of the career. But they're not signing the world-class players in the absolute prime of the careers the way that they were able to in the past. And yes, most of it has to do with financial issues, but I think some of it also has to do with them not being an attractive destination anymore. And the fact that they're signing players, but they're not even being able to get them registered right away, and all the turmoil with the clubs, with managers coming in and gone, Xavi versus the board and all that situation, a lot of negativity around Barcelona. They're not really a destination that they are anymore. And yes, with Barca signing Dani Olmo, doesn't make them better marginally, but doesn't allow them to push Real Madrid this season. Well, no, this is Real Madrid that just won the Champions League and added Mbappe. So as far as I'm concerned, no, they can't. They were not going to be able to push Real Madrid, not this season. Especially now, this is a project under Hansi Flick. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll talk about the Community Shield battle between Manchester City and Manchester United.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we talked about the situation with Barcelona signing Dani Olmo. We move on to preview the Community Shield matchup between Manchester City and Manchester United. Now, the storylines here. Number one, this is the first trophy, essentially, for the season. No matter how big or not big you think of this Community Shield, I happen to not be the biggest fan of this game. Probably won't even watch the game, quite frankly. I'll watch a replay later that night, though, so I can cover it on the show. Don't think I'm gonna watch it. It's 9 a.m. my time, and I'm gonna be tuning into some other Olympic events. Maybe have it on the site to keep an eye on it, but I'll really focus in on the night because I'm not the biggest of bigs in terms of the Community Shield. Yeah, it's a trophy, but it's a glorified preseason game, essentially, in my opinion. But the teams are gonna take it seriously. The players are gonna play. Full teams for both teams gonna play, and it's gonna be interesting. With Manchester United, they want to start off this season on the high of how they ended last season, and they want to replicate how they finished last season and start this season, and that's beating Manchester City in Wembley. If you want to go back, a few months ago, do one of those episode reminders at the beginning of the show. Before we start this episode, this is what you missed. Manchester City lost to United in the FA Cup final this past season, which denied them the domestic trouble, Manchester City, and United were able to, and essentially that saved Ten Hag's job. Now they get to play against Manchester City again in the Community Shield at Wembley Stadium. Same sort of similar vibes, and they want to replicate what they did the end of last season, and they want to start it off this season. Now, obviously, that's probably the only thing they want to replicate from how they had last season compared to what they're about to do this season, because obviously last season was a complete and utter disaster for Manchester United. But it's still potential to be a decent encounter. So let's just talk about some of the things you need to know. So this is the first time that Manchester United and City have met in the Community Shield since 2011. That's all the way back in the Sir Alex Ferguson times. United were actually able to beat the victories in that. United are the record winners in terms of the Community Shield, winning this 21 times. City, they've won 4 consecutive Premier Leagues. So there's that. Eric Ten Hag, speaking about this game, said it's about a trophy. So we will put out a team that is very competitive to win this trophy. Pep Guardiola said they will go for it as well. It's important. It's a final against United, but part of it is to try to refine ourselves step by step after a break from most of the players, Pep Guardiola said. There's been a lot of Manchester derbies that's been happening at Wembley Stadium over the past few years or so. You have go back to the FA Cup final last year, not last year, but the year before that, and also the FA Cup final a few months ago. And now this, Manchester City versus United we've seen this at Wembley a lot. This game, by the way, will not go to extra time. If the game is tied after 90 minutes, it's going to go straight to penalties, which I'm sure the players will appreciate. They don't want to play in extra time this early in the season, this close to the start of the season. But yes, I think, Eric Ten Hag, I think this game is important for him in terms of, he starts off the season bad. In terms of Premier League, he will get fired. So this is a sort of game that you can build some positive momentum entering the season, especially of a lot of the first team players of all your first team players that are going to be involved, and you're kind of take this seriously. There's a chance that this is a sort of tournament that could, this is a sort of game that can build some sort of confidence entering the start of the season. Now it's an injury-ravaged Manchester United. Leno Yoro that came in there's the standout signing for getting him for 62 million euros. The 20-year-old young center half that's expected to change things at United was sought after by clubs like Real Madrid and PSG. Well, he's going to be out for 3 months. Rasmus Højlund, the only real sort of striker that you have at the club. Yes, they signed Xerxes, but he's not a goal scorer. Only scored single-digit goals in the Eredivisie this past year. Not Eredivisie, in Serie A this past year. You have issues there. You don't really have a number 9. You don't know who you're gonna play at center half. They just looking like they're gonna have to rely on the same old Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. Again, that's shaky. You're going up against the Manchester City that's gonna bring their A game. Haaland, Doku, Jack Grealish, who has had a pretty good preseason. Manchester City, they're coming out in good form. A lot of their players did do pretty well in the preseason. So, it's going to be interesting. Obviously City, they're going to be the favorites. They are the favorites. Especially when you saw that Pep Guardiola said the players are going to go for it, which we assume that he's going to put the first team players out there. And maybe there's an element of them, you want to right your wrong that you did, just 11 weeks ago in that FA Cup final. Maybe they used that game as some sort of motivation. But honestly, I don't really see that because, why would you use a Community Shield game? Why would you try to, why would you need, not why would you need, but how is how are you winning this Community Shield is going to right your wrong of losing that FA Cup final? It's really not. So I don't think that's going to be much motivation for them. But yeah, I think City, they just have that ruthless mentality of trying to, needing to win every single trophy that they're playing for. They have that mentality. They've had that mentality under Pep Guardiola. They've been very, very ruthless over the years in terms of, and yes, Community Shield doesn't mean much, but I'm talking about in general, Pep Guardiola, he's always, his teams have always been in and about when it comes to the AFL Cups and the FA Cups. They always make it far, and maybe that has a lot to do with the fact that, even if he benches his guys and play his second team players, they're still world-class players because of how loaded Manchester City is, which has something to do with it. But I think Guardiola just happens to take it a little bit more seriously in terms of those trophies compared to others, because let me just say, quite frankly, Jurgen Klopp, before these past few recent years where they've started reaching EFL and FA Cup finals, where they've been defeating Chelsea left, right, and center every single time, but before they reached those FA, there's a long period of time that Jurgen Klopp had 6-7 great years at Liverpool, but he only had like a few trophies to show for it. One Premier League and one Champions League, despite the countless amount of successful seasons and dominant seasons that they've had and great football that they've played. He only had 2, trophies to show for because he's been really, really reluctant to put any sort of team that can compete in the FA Cup and EFL Cup, especially in the early rounds, which lead them to constantly get eliminated in early. And I think later on, he decided, he came to a realization, okay, I only have 2 trophies here at Liverpool. Like, it's not good enough for what we have accomplished and what we're trying to be. So let me start taking the FA Cup and EFL Cup seriously. And you saw them slowly. They reached, FA Cup. I think they won 2 EFL Cups. They won an FA Cup final against us. I know they won 2 AFL Cup finals against us. Crazy thing is all the games happen to be against us. He was able to get a few more trophies in his trophy basket before he left Liverpool. And Guardiola, he's always been good at it. So I don't think there's going to be some sort of lack of motivation for City. I think they're just going to go for it because of their ruthless nature that they've had under Guardiola, and I think that makes them deadly. But yeah, I think City will win this, and simple as that. And then we get the good thing, the real football to start. The Premier League starting very, very soon after that. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll react to some of the top soccer headlines. Before the break, we previewed the Community Shield battle between City and United. We move on to react to some of the top soccer headlines going on in the soccer world. We gotta start off. David De Gea. He is finally, after a year of being away from football, essentially as a free agent, he has decided to join Fiorentina as a free agent. Fiorentina announced this move actually. Technically it's 12:30 p.m. right now, so it's Saturday. They announced it on Friday. Technically today, or technically yesterday, but really today. De Gea, he signed his contract. It's a 1-year contract with an option to extend it. He's been without a club since he left United, not this summer, but this past summer. And and took a year out from football. And throughout the time, he's received some offers from clubs in Europe and the Saudi Pro League. And he eventually decided to join Fiorentina. It's good to see him back in football, honestly, and it's kind of sad that he went a whole year without playing football, and I hope it gives him the mental break, not being in football, and hopefully he can, get back to the levels he was, because, bro, he was a sensational goalkeeper. He was an absolutely sensational goalkeeper at Manchester United during his prime. But, near the latter end, you have to say it really was not good enough. The U.S. women's national team take on Brazil tomorrow. Marta has a chance to play for Olympic gold for one last time. Her last appearance for Brazil. Olympic game. U.S. They want to win. The U.S. women's team, they want to win their first Olympic Games since London 2000 and 2012. Huge storylines there. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a classic game. We don't see we haven't seen this sort of game at this sort of level. Brazil, United States women in a final for a very long time. It's two teams that have real history in terms of Olympic Games. Not just in terms of women's soccer. They played in the 2008 gold medal final, and it was a winner from Carly Lloyd, and I expect this to be another great game, and let's see if Emma Hayes can get her first title. Germany were able to win their bronze medal game against Spain. Alexia Potea missed a stoppage time penalty that could have pushed this game into extra time at the Groupe Ma Stadium in Lyon, but she missed it, and Katrin Berger made a great save against the two-time Ballon d'Or winner, and Germany have been able to claim bronze at this Olympic Games, and this is the fourth time that they've won the bronze medal since the women's soccer has been in the Olympic Games since 1996. So a good win for Germany, a good bounce back for them, and disappointing the Olympic Games for Spain, not being able to medal after winning the Olympics, after winning the World Cup last time around, and really being looked at the favorites, and not only not winning the gold medal, but not even getting a medal, period. Very disappointing tournament for Spain. They need to put that behind them and look forward. At least the Spanish men's had a great summer. Spurs, they have agreed a deal to buy Dominic Solanke for $55 million. That's a really interesting transfer. I think Dominic Solanke has been very good for Bournemouth this season, and it's been a player that's kind of been sneaking under the radar, maybe not really getting the respect that he deserves. He scored 19 Premier League goals last season for Bournemouth. That's really incredible, and he put himself in in touching distance of a potential chance to be on the England Euro 2024 squad. He narrowly missed out when you look at the fact that the English national team has the likes of Harry Kane and Ollie Watkins and Ivan Toney. But he put himself in that sort of, prospect. And, the former Chelsea and Liverpool player, he was part of Chelsea's youth setup, and, didn't have any first team appearances, but was, he was part of Chelsea, and then he went to Liverpool. He's going to come into Spurs with 55 million, with a $55 million transfer with potential 10 million in add-ons. And he can be the center half that a Postecoglou that can change it all for Postecoglou. When speaking about it, they didn't speak about it actually. But Dominic Solanke, he's 19 goals, 3 assists. He wins his aerial duels. He's been consistent this season. And Postecoglou, he's talked about how if they've needed a center forward. When speaking about it, he said, we play a certain way. We demand certain things from a physical perspective, from the technical aspects of it. That's it. Being a striker that fits that mold. It's still the area of the park where probably the most thinnest when I talk about squad wise at the moment. So obviously that's a focus for us. And Solanke, that'll be a deal fit for Spurs. He's talking about the physical perspective and the technical aspects. He provides that. He has the physicality that Richarlison doesn't really have, but he also has some technical ability in there too, something you can get out of, some real ability and some real quality. So I think this is a signing that's good for Tottenham. This is a Tottenham team that needed a little bit more to push them. The way that they played, they got a little bit tired near the end of the season, and their performances went just a little bit down, and they didn't have the squad depth. So being able to add a guy like Dominic Solanke to continue to progress, he gives you goals that this team did not have. I think Spurs are going to be more dangerous because of Solanke. He's not Harry Kane, and he's not going to come in and have the impact that Harry Kane had for Tottenham. And I think it's ridiculous to expect that from anybody coming in, unless you bring in the like of a Osimhen or something on a ridiculous transfer. Other than that, you can't be expecting Harry Kane sort of prospect. But what you can expect is a solid number 9, a clinical number 9, and a number 9 that you can rely on game in, game out. And I think Dominic Solanke is now at the point in his career that can provide that. The way Spurs play the high energy football, getting numbers forward, getting crosses into the box, getting the ball forward, getting the ball in dangerous goal scoring positions, and creating a lot of opportunities because the way that they play, how high intensity, how fluid that they are. Getting a guy in Dominic Solanke, who's a very good box striker, has a great presence in the box, makes them deadly. Out of Dominic Solanke's 19 goals, 17 of them have came inside the penalty box. That's a statistic that should not be underestimated. And now he's 26 years old, so he's not young, but he's not old. He's at his prime. He's a guy that can come in, and he's fully expected for him to contribute right away. He's experienced in the Premier League. He knows the Premier League. He's not a player coming from another league that needs to adjust to the Premier League. He understands it. He's a very good box finisher. Spurs, they rank 4th in the Premier League when you talk about crosses per game. Now bringing in a guy like Dominic Solanke that has a great box presence, it's a match made in heaven. So I think that's a signing that's gonna work out for Tottenham. I really do. Great signing for Emran Shibeshi. Thank you guys for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. So thank you once again and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go.